member, an educational advocate, and a speaker for the Frederick Foundation of New York. Thank you for coming out today as we stand united for the protection of our constitutional rights to carry and possess firearms. A right that is recent as of 2010 was upheld. Was upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court when they officially established that the Second Amendment protects an individual's rights to possess firearms and to use the firearm for lawful purposes such as self-defense. In addition, the court ruled that the Second Amendment limits state and local governments to the same extent that it limits, that it prohibits the federal government from infringing on their Second Amendment rights. Yeah. You know, it appears to me that President Barack Hussein Obama and Governor Andrew Cuomo may have missed that ruling somewhere. They must have been sleeping or playing golf. You know, it gets me how hypocritical many of our elected officials, such as Assemblyman Harry Bronson and State Senator Ted O'Brien, are, as they claim that they bring change to Albany when they themselves fail to represent all the people. You know, I'll tell you, Bronson hides behind his party leaders and the governor, and O'Brien seems to have become inaccessible when asked to explain the comments in regards to magazine limits. His comment was this: allowing people to keep 10-round magazines but asking them to load only 7 bullets is pushing a little bit more than we need for an effective piece of legislation. Can you wrap your head around that? Frankly, I think it's quite ridiculous. You know, on yesterday's radio show, Bob Lansbury stated that his show tried contacting O'Brien, but he was told that it was going to take 2 weeks before the state senator could respond. You know, you know, Bob Lansbury goes on to say, when he was running for office against, I forgot the other guy's name, but when he was running for office, he was always accessible. Anyways, you know, when I heard that, I began to wonder if the delayed response was due to the state senator realizing that his comment was not reflective of the people that I represent, and it just simply made absolutely no sense. You know, they and the rest of the ilk behaves as if government was established to rule instead of represent us. Somehow, having the majority in the assembly has caused the Democrat Party to behave as if they can do whatever they want without accountability to the voters. Well, Harry and you like-minded individuals, you are all in for a big surprise if you think that we, the American people, are going to stand here in the sidelines while you strip us of our constitutional rights. Yeah. Rights that many of our families and friends have died defending.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Love you. You know, I grew up in one of the poorest parts of the city of Rochester, right in the middle of what many refer to as the ghetto, a part of Monroe County where crime has become the norm and education, or the lack of education, has been acceptable. I'll tell you, I am a high school dropout. I am a teen parent, and I hung on these streets here in Rochester, but guess what? Because faith, morality, and family values were allowed and taught in my home and many of the community leaders of those days, I knew not to pick up a gun or any weapon for that matter to hurt someone. You know what gets me, what just burns me, is that nearly 25 years later, now mind you, this city, as well as our assembly, has been under Democrat control for nearly 40 years. 25 years later, and after a whole bunch of new laws have been passed, many within our society are still dealing with the exact issues that defeated many of my elementary cohorts. Issues such as broken homes, failing schools, and useless posers that pretend to be community leaders when they just ignore our communities. They dictate instead of represent. They fail to encourage education, but yet they insist that we hand out condoms in our public schools. They've criminalized those of us who follow the laws and teach our youth faith, morality, and family values. And now, they want to criminalize all of us for protecting our constitutional rights. People like Terry Bronson and Ted O'Brien, they advocate for equality. They say abortion is a right. But they ignore the Second Amendment that has been a constitutional right for the last 2 centuries. I have to ask though, are they really interested in equality? Recently, Assemblyman Felix Ortiz introduced legislation that if passed would require every gun owner to maintain a $1 million insurance policy. You mentioned that. But get this though. He says, this bill is designated to encourage responsible ownership of firearms and to reduce accidental shootings. Yeah, I figured that'd make you chuckle. Now I'll tell you, if that wasn't silly enough, he goes on to say, the insurance policy will provide innocent victims of firearm incidents compensation for the medical care for their injuries and recoveries. What's really funny though is that he makes an attempt to equate his bill to having homeowners and vehicle insurance. I think what Mr. Ortiz fails to understand is that home ownership and having a car is not a constitutional right, it's an earned right. It's a right and privilege that all of us that work day in and day out bust our butts to get. For those that think that piece of legislation will make a difference or will make our community safer, they live in La La Land. They're in fantasy world. We all must realize that these only penalize us. Those of us that follow the law. Criminals don't care about registering them guns. Why would they? As a matter of fact, most of those guns are what? Illegal, exactly. If we say that loud enough, maybe the governor, maybe President Barack Hussein Obama will hear us. I doubt it too.
They're not listening, right?
A billion people can leave New York and they won't want us then.
You gotta have Tiger Woods say it.
Now, I want you all to imagine this. Your weapon is stolen. It's used in an armed robbery where someone was murdered or severely injured. Or you are forced to protect yourself and your family, but the attacker is injured. Under this law, the registered gun owner is fully financially responsible to that criminal. That means that criminal, you as the gun owner, although he robbed you and you defended yourself, or they stole your gun, they just made $1 million. Doesn't make sense. It sounds like an enticement to me.
Yeah, it does.
But yet the president and the governor say they want reasonable gun control laws that do not infringe on the Second Amendment. Listen,
Double talk.
if there's any educators out here, I encourage you to write both the president and the governor and educate them on what reasonable really means. Again, their dictionary, I don't think it was English. Well, I'm sure for one of them it probably wasn't. Assemblyman Thomas Abinati said on the assembly floor during the debate prior to the vote of the SAFE Act that he is disappointed that all he hears in opposition of the SAFE Act is self-defense and constitutional rights. Really, what would be more important than that, right? He also said he would be more than glad to champion a bill that bans all guns. Now these leaders, and I'll tell you, I use the word leaders very loosely, they say New York is a progressive state, with its leaders fighting for the rights of its citizens and equality for all. I don't think so.
No.
You know, it seems to me that these leaders, they need to look up the definition of equality and the meaning of fighting for the rights of all of its citizens.
Yes.
Maybe then they'll understand what the Second Amendment means by the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. You know, when they're talking, they should also discuss and figure out exactly what Thomas Jefferson meant when he said that government is of the people, for the people, and by the people.
Yes.
You know, I do want you to know, I don't own a gun. And really today, at this particular juncture in my life, I don't have a desire to. But it's not because I don't like guns. I spent 13 years in the military. I love weapons. I love firing them. Every opportunity to get, I can. But you know what? I had some other things going on in my life that wouldn't allow me to enjoy them. Plus, I figured if this was a right, then I thought I'd be able to exercise when I was ready. Unfortunately, it has gotten to a point that unless we unite and hold accountable those who've decided to chip away at our constitutional rights and dictate instead of represent, it appears to me that infringement of the Second Amendment is just the beginning of the onslaught of our dictators stripping away all our constitutional rights. Ladies and gentlemen, I strongly urge each of you to contact your representatives. Write opinions for the media, be it social or print. Educate your friends and your family, but more importantly, stay informed. Stay informed so that on election days, you can hold accountable those elected officials that ignored you and your constitutional rights. Now remember, laws, they don't stop people from hurting each other. But teaching morale, faith, and family values will. And I'll tell you, when your liberal friends want to give you lip for the willingness to stand up for the preservation of the Constitution of the United States, I strongly urge you to use the Frederick Foundation's argument. Gun laws institutionalize inequality. Again, gun laws institutionalize inequality. You know, just so you know, initially these laws were used to keep guns out of the hands of the freed slaves so that the Democrat Party could keep the black man down. As a matter of fact, these laws were enforced by the white hooded Democrats of the KKK.
Amen.
You know, requirements to buy a $3,000 a year insurance policy in order to own a gun will make the poor man even less equal to the man that can afford that. And I'll tell you, I'm one of those poor men because I sure can afford $3,000 a year so that I can make a criminal a millionaire. Further, robbing someone who has a gun and hoping to come away with a small gunshot wound will be a $1 million payday for a two-bit criminal hoping to become the Democrat Party's next victim of a well-insured, law-abiding gun owner.
And his lawyer.
Now I'll tell you, the Democrat Party thinks that criminals are victims and that we, law-abiding citizens, are criminals just because we either want to or currently own a gun. It appears to me that their world seems to be upside down. But you know what? It is our responsibility to fix it. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless our American gun owners. God bless each of you and your families. And God bless this great country of the free, the United States of America.
Amen.